Welcome back, everybody. Just Mike here. Today we have another cuckoo clock to work on, and to tell you the truth, I have no idea how old this clock is. I know it was built before 1970 because there's not a date code on the movement itself, but the color of the rifles was what's got me stumped just a little bit. Let me show you the clock. This is the clock, and it has the blue rifles, which I've seen clocks like this, but I've never known the age of them. It does have a plastic head. This clock came with another deer head, and it's plastic also. It came with two pendulums. This one goes with the clock because the color matches. This one doesn't. This has more of a green tone to it. It has a little bag that has the rod that holds the pendulum. I don't know if it's from this clock or not. It's got the hook to hold the weight, and it's got a bunch of little pieces of chain, and there's been a bunch of pieces of chain coming out of the bag. And this thing also came with a pile of weights. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weights in here, and I haven't even opened it up to see what sizes they are, if they're all the same or not. But it's always nice to have extra weights. Now this clock here, I also opened up the back. It has a 1069 on here. Made in West Germany. Because it says West Germany, that was after, I do believe, World War II. I do believe, I don't remember. It has the Music Man, and the music is up in the roof of the clock. And it has the bird, and the bird has metal feet. This here is gold toned, in which, yes, they do come that way also, but it does have the color of the bird, where the wood's showing because the paint's chipped off. You can touch that up with a scratch cover or whatever just to darken it, because more than likely you're not going to match that paint that's on there, which I guess that was spray paint. In shipment, the one piece of horn broke off, but I have the other piece, so I can put that back on. And as you can see, this is loose. This does have both the deals here in order for you to, on the back of the topper, has a screw. You set it in here because it's at an angle. Once you set it in, then you bring it down and it just slides right into this one. Here on the roof you can see 3 screws that hold the music box in. This does have the plastic on top of the whistle box, but it does have the leather on the bellow. And let's see, this is a regular 25, West Germany, and we'll have to take that to see the rest. This one does have the wire to hold the pendulum, so that's from another clock. And this one, like I say, the music box is messed up. I'll pull that out so you can see it. The rod that's supposed to go along the side to stop the music, it's flipped over onto the teeth of the music itself right now. And there's the name of the music. When we get it out, we'll play it. Right now it's kind of rough trying to play it, especially because it doesn't have the chains in it. I did run the So it seems to tick okay. I don't have it level. I'm just pulling on the chain. And I did have this thing Cuckoo. It doesn't shut off. And so you can hear it, that it needs oil bad. And also these were stuck up, so I'm going to have to put a clamp on them and hold them down to get them to get the memory back for being closed, so they actually have a cuckoo sound to them. So at the moment, the first thing I'm going to do is take the wires off the doors. I'm going to take the nut off and hands off. It's a little bit stuck. Normally you can put a drop of oil on there, but let me first see if I can get this to pop free. It's too tight. I'm going to go ahead and put a drop of oil. And normally after you wait 10 seconds, try it again. If that doesn't work, I usually take a glue gun. I don't glue it. I use the heat from the tip of the gun, and I'll set it on there to drive, the heat should drive the oil down inside the hand. So let me go ahead and put the drop of oil on, then we'll take these off. Normally this is down, so you'd put the hand on this way, and then this is wedged on, really wedged on. There we go. Chain off. I just separate. Because it's a one-day clock, I just pull it up. I don't twist it. And you get it off of there like that. This one doesn't have a end on it. And if you'll listen or watch, it doesn't wind up very nicely. Now the chain's stuck up in there because it's jumping. So I'm going to go ahead and take these bellows out. I only see a screw, so I'm willing to bet these bellows are glued in, or the whistle boxes, I should say. See, normally I'll take the screw out and I'll push here. It is not moving. So I'll go ahead and take the other screw out, so I'll be ready. And then I'm going to take a putty knife and break the glue out of there. It disgusts me that anyone, factory or anyone else, would glue these things in here. And you have to take them out because this is so small, you're not going to get that movement out of there. And if you did, it'd be rough. On this bellow, because it came off the right side, you might want to go ahead and mark R on there. And also, I forgot to tell you, don't forget to take pictures. This side, the lift wire here, is normally longer on the right side than it is the left, but sometimes they're the same exact size. Look at the bellow paper, which is leather. It looks good. So let me get a pen and mark this one. The right side wire and the left side wire. So the left side wire is shorter. Found this bunch of chain pieces inside. So this chain is more than likely wore out. You can take your time and go through the chain, get all the links in, and get them all straight if you didn't want to buy a new one. And then of course you'd want to clean your chain so it would go through the gears nicely. So it's a little sticky. Not really. The reason why this thing was more than likely cuckooing so much is because of this lever here and the music box being messed up inside. So this is an odd one. It has these sticks so it can rest down on. So I have to figure out how we get that music box out of there. The only way I see how to do it is to get one of these sticks out of the way. I had to take the music man off because he's not going in, and when I pulled that piece of board off, I left a layer and a layer of the wood, and it didn't want to come off or anything, so I carved it off a little bit. We still got pieces of chain flying around inside there. This has actually got a metal wheel that goes to the governor, which normally they're plastic, and they're always dying, I guess we'll put it that way. This winder seems to be good. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of oil on this thing, on all the gears, because it's skipping and it's having a hard time with this one turning. It'll turn and then all of a sudden stop. So I'm going to mess with this a little bit more. I moved the governor. It's slipping on the gears, and so it might not be close enough. But it just went in the hole and shut off, and you can see this here is supposed to be in that hole there, so I have to take these screws and loosen them and turn this wheel. So because it just shut off, this needs to be in there. You see it goes just so far and stops. I'm going to try to line that gear up so it looks square onto this gear. It's not a happy camper, and the gears look good. And it just went in the hole, but this didn't drop, so I have to adjust this again. I'm looking down on the small gear where it goes against that other one. Because it shouldn't be, let's say, hanging up, play beautiful and hang up, play beautiful and hang up. I'm going to put a touch oil down there on that gear. And this one here might be worn too. I need binoculars to be able to see. So I'm going to mess with it a little bit more off camera and see what I can come up with. I took the governor off, and you have to pull this out of the way. And it turns nicely. Here's a tooth by the looks of it. So I have to look at that a little closer. And this all seems to run pretty good. It looked like a tooth that came from the longer teeth that you see closest to you, I guess to say, where the bigger wheel rides onto. It is missing one tooth. This here gear, the smaller gear is attached to it. One tooth is missing. And I don't know if that's gonna allow this music box to play. This here turns easily, this does too, but you put them together and it has to ride on this wheel here. And I'm going to put it back on there again, but I don't know that this is going to, let's say, work. Well, better than nothing, I guess. What I did is I added a little bit of grease onto that gear that's missing the one tooth, and it seems to run a lot better, but it does want to stop, which is understandable. Right there. And the reason why it's possibly stopping is because I can't keep turning this because it's a full rotation. Once the weight starts pulling on it, it might be fine, but it's better than no music at all. And this here is shutting off and bringing the man back in. And so that's another thing. I got to make sure those screws are tight, and I want to watch it fall one more time. You see this wire here, it's all connected. And right now the Music Man would be out. So it seems to shut off fine. Like I say, I'm going to go ahead and tighten these, because I have a feeling also this was spun out of place and this clock didn't get the maintenance it should have for whoever had it. And it is costly normally if you bring your Cuckoo clocks in, especially if they have a music box to them. My understanding is they don't like working on Cuckoo clocks, let alone one that has the music. And on some of these, it's hard to get parts for your clock. And so that's possibly another reason why they don't want to fool with it. And I don't know if you can see, but this has a lever that goes over. Once this goes into the hole, that lever goes over and stops the fan. Right here. So technically speaking, I guess you could call that a warning pin, until the Cuckoo clock tells this, or it starts to flip this. It only flips just so far, but it has this plate here that'll right up against that. And it has this spring here that's pulling it. So this lever here will go into the hole when the hole comes up. And also, now that I have this out of the case, I got to looking. This has got one of them cheap plastic legged birds it's broke. It don't even stay on, we'll say. It's loose, it won't stay in place. You can't, if you have a good one, you can't necessarily tighten them very well. And I will admit, you don't want to tighten these too much anyway. I don't care if it's got the metal legs on it or not. But this one here, as usual, right across here, it's cracked. And you can, as long as they're not too bad, you can repair it by putting super glue on there and baking soda to re-weld that together. Don't put it in the hole where the rod goes, just put it on the outside and they will work. But I do have spares, and I don't believe in these plastic things. And so because I have the spares, I'm going to go ahead and use it. Here I have another bird. This plastic feet. You see the back's gone. I had it. Just because I'm going to show you how you can repair these, and maybe we'll stick it back in the clock. Get your super glue. I don't have my glasses. Get it wet there. Take your baking soda, sprinkle it on that area. And then I suggest don't get too carried away taking it off. Don't touch the super glue on there. Get the drop to go on there the best you can. What is it? This is gel. Don't get the gel. Oh my gosh, no wonder why it's having a problem. Okay, we got some super glue on there already. And it's probably going to be fine, but it's plastic, and so I like to build it up a little bit more. Let's see if I got anything in here. It's almost dried up. Maybe throwing this one away. It only lasts so long once you open it. And this happens to be Gorilla. I just get whatever's out there as long as it's not gel. So now we'll put that on there. But like I say, I don't like the plastic ones because they will break. They're easier to break and whatnot. So there's how you'd fix it. And because it was already broke, because it's cheap old plastic, definitely I'm not going to screw that on tight. I'm going to screw it on tight enough to get the bird to set and make him so he'll rock with the bellow hitting the tail. So on the clickers, I have this, I do believe they call it a spring grease or whatever, and I use it on a lot of stuff, such as where you have a key wind clock. It has a big shaft that comes through. I grease the end of it because I don't feel oil's enough. On my clickers inside here, what I do is I add a little bit of grease down in there so it clicks by a lot smoother instead of oil because of the way it's built. And turning these, remember that one was really stiff. I can't get my finger in there on this one, so I'll use a screwdriver. But you can hear it's, if I get the gear, you can hear it's a lot better now. So hopefully when I get the chain on there, it's going to move better. Anyway, I went ahead and just oiled this movement because the Cuckoo side worked really well, just that you could hear the fan was dried out. And when I pulled the chain, when the chain was on, this seemed to tick beautifully. The paddles on there, I forgot to oil them. I'm going to go ahead and oil the paddles because I'm going to try to stop the friction, if there is any friction. And I know this clock has been oiled years ago, but might as well make it to the best, or to my advantage, I guess we'll put it that way. Now, again, I can't find my can of air. I need to go buy a new one. But normally, when you take a clock out and you're going to oil it only, blow it out, blow all the dust out that you can, whatnot, and then oil your clock. Normally, if your clock stops because you didn't oil it, that's when the book says you should take this whole thing apart and clean all the gears, all the pivots, everything else, put it back together, and you should be good to go again for another 5 to 7 years. Anyway, like I say, I oiled everything, that moving parts and whatnot, just to make sure it's got the fresh oil in it now. Anyway, let me get those paddles oiled, and the way I do that is I'll get me a toothpick and I'll dip it in the oil so I can reach in there and get the paddles. So I'm going to go ahead and install this because it's the only way to do it, and then I'm going to re-glue that board in. Then I have to let it set there. Yes, I think it's a dumb idea doing it that way, but I guess they do it whatever's easiest for them. So now all I have to do is glue that board back in and clamp it the best I can. I put the music man in with the music box, and realistically I think that possibly I shouldn't have glued that board in, because the board that holds the music box, these screws in the roof screw into it, and so roughly speaking, maybe those boards pieces in there are for a gauge so it doesn't go up too high or down too low. Here I'm going to measure 12 inches of the chain, and then I'm going to count the links so I can figure out for sure what size chain this takes. You count the links in order to know the size chain, 'cause that's how they sell it, is so many links per 12 inches. Let me count it. I count approximately 60 links per foot. So out of the 3 chains I have, 2 of them are almost the same size. It's only missing a few links. And then the 3rd chain is longer, and the reason why it's longer is it's meant for the music to be able to go clear up to the roof and back down again, so that way the chains look even when you wind the clock up. So these here I'm just going to clean up and put back in, and I'm going to examine each one of these links and make sure they're not stretched open. To help form them again, I'm going to put it on the back side. Squeeze a little more. So we can leave them on there for now. Get this in here and hook it up to the top arm on this movement. Most of them are on the top arm for this side. Not all of them, but most of them. And I'm going to hit the same hole it was in before. And then I plan on tacking in a small nail below the screw and still hit the whistle box so that way it'll hold it in place, and I did not glue it. We need to adjust this so the wire from the bellow hits his tail better. So pretty much the most difficult part is once you get things in here, if I didn't take this screw and this lever off, but more than likely it needed adjusted, or it's obvious it needed adjusted because I've been having to mess with it. And this here, if it's cocked too far, the cuckoo bird will continuously cuckoo. You need it over far enough this way to catch the governor to the music box also. Let's see if I can trigger this. This should be one cuckoo. And then this will be the hour. Oh, I'm touching the floor. Find the right. Wrong chain. So this is a half hour. No music is what we want. And this lever right here, if it was playing music on the half hour, you'd have to bend it away from this lever on the music box just a little bit so it doesn't pull it out of the hole over on the music box. And that's what we want to hear. Now this music box isn't perfect because it is missing that tooth. Until I can find another replacement to replace that gear, I'm kind of stuck with whatever it decides to do. Sometimes it'll play all the way through, sometimes it won't. You see where it catches on that missing tooth? And this actually needs to be adjusted a little bit more, and I'd adjust it over on the side where the gear is that makes the door go open and closed. So besides putting up with the music, now I need to eventually adjust the pendulum to know whether I need to go faster or slower. And also I'm deciding, because of this blue color, it could be the brand of the clock, but I know this here was built before 1970, so I'm going to just give a guess of 1965. I could be totally wrong, but that's what I'm guessing. So I'm happy with the clock, even though I'm missing one tooth of the music box. I like the colors of it and whatnot, and so that makes me happy, and that's all that counts, I do believe. Anyway, I appreciate you guys stopping by and watching what I did to this clock. The main thing was working on the music box to see what was up with it, and we oiled the clock. Anyway, until next time, don't forget to subscribe because it's free, and God bless.